What did he say?
I married a white girl 10 years ago.
Brother.
Well, brother, until you unmarry her, it's best you stay over there, brother. I appreciate you and I love you, but you are no use to me with that white woman on your arm, brother.
When I was a kid, there was always this one episode of The Fairly Odd Parents that sort of creeped me out with how dark the implications were. And that episode would be Season 5, Episode 7, or just Episode 63 if we're going purely off of episode order. The episode known as It's a Wishful Life. This episode always weirded me out for a couple of reasons, but even more now than it did back then. The more you think about it, this episode is kind of effed up. The episode starts out with Timmy basically trying to paint this like water world like display thing for Mr. Pickles. Is that how you say it? Mr. Pickles? Such a weird name now that I think of it. Essentially, he thinks that this is like a nice thing to do, and he ends up getting, I guess, a bit of a reality check when Mr. Pickles comes in and basically just starts crying because it's not the right shade of blue. He then goes and tries to do a nice thing for AJ, which is, I guess, buy him this new high-tech computer setup, which AJ says is obsolete as of like 4 seconds ago, which how the hell does a 10-year-old have enough to buy this? I mean, even I wouldn't have enough to buy the equivalent of this right now. He then goes and does his parents' lawn, basically fixing up every single little thing. But it turns out it's the Dimsdale's worst lawn competition or something. So this essentially just leads to Dinkelberg winning. Before the mayor and the goat even check out his parents' lawn, I mean, it could have been dirty, who knows? It's kind of dark when you think about the fact that this is literally just a 10-year-old boy and he keeps messing up what he's not trying to. After a while, he kind of realizes that he can't do anything right and decides to wish himself out of reality, or essentially wish that he never existed. Wait, isn't this like supposed to be a kid's show? Within 2 seconds of making this wish, although Wanda and Cosmo are kind of hesitant, it turns out the world is a lot different without him, and honestly, kind of for the better. So he basically just checks out his parents' house, which is like a mansion now. Apparently, they have a daughter who's like super like famous and successful. And to be fair, this is kind of a weird running theme in The Fairly Odd Parents, the fact that Timmy's parents wanted a daughter. In fact, that's canonically the reason why he wears a pink hat, because they just bought all this stuff expecting a girl.
And look at all this cool daughter stuff I bought. I'd be crushed if we had a son.
Which is even more sad when you think about the fact that this is literally a 10-year-old boy who constantly keeps having to hear about this. Now he's seeing what this would look like. Timmy doesn't get too long to think about the implications of this because this guy in a cloak shows up. Is it the Grim Reaper? No, this ain't Cartoon Network. It's actually Jorgen von Strangle, I guess here to take him somewhere. Maybe the underworld, maybe hell. Does hell exist in the Fairly Odd Parents world? I don't know. I don't know and I don't care. Just take me to wherever Timmy's mom is. Fuck it. Danny's mom even more. Essentially, it's just a world where kids who wish themselves out of existence go, which implies that this has happened more than once. Also, it's a world where kids who improve the world by not existing go, which proves without a shadow of a doubt that Timmy not existing is better for the world, which, wow. Oh, God, that seems like some kind of messed up stuff to put in a kid show. I'm not gonna lie. No, how is this allowed on oh yeah, Nickelodeon? Makes sense. Honestly, I'd rather this than whatever the hell this is. Oh my, what the hell were they smoking, man? So essentially, all Timmy has to do to remain in this world and I guess not permanently die is prove that at least one person's life is worse off without him. On his way to the school, the first kid he ends up bumping into is Francis, the classical school bully. It turns out in this world, since Timmy didn't exist, he had to let out his frustrations through some other means. What is that? I guess football. So he ended up basically becoming this football prodigy and jock and also a really nice guy since he really had nobody to bully. Which is why even though Timmy's first interaction with this version of him is literally bumping into him, nothing happens to Timmy because Francis isn't interested in fighting him. The next kid Timmy goes to check out, pause, is AJ, who in this world is in college and not bald. Apparently, both him not being in college and him being bald are somehow Timmy's faults. I understand the him not being in college part. Maybe Timmy's a bad influence, but but the bald part? And also, Crocker never had the obsession with fairies due to Timmy not existing, so now he's this teacher at Harvard? He then goes to check on Chester to see if Chester's life is any worse. Turns out, no. In fact, his trailer is even bigger and is held up by golden bricks. And Cosmo and Wanda are actually his fairies since Timmy doesn't exist. So his life is overall better in every conceivable way. And he's also way more generous with his wishes, wishing up pre-chewed steaks for the toothless and stuff like that. He then decides to check on the last possible person he can. Vicky. Since Vicky's whole MO throughout the entire series has been causing pain to other people, she clearly has to still be doing that in this world, right? Turns out, no. Apparently she's working for the dentist guy. And she's actually the one stopping the pain by administering laughing gas. Wait, isn't she 16? How is she doing this at 16? Either way, it seems like everybody is happier without Timmy around, even if they wouldn't ever admit it. Which, again, dark as hell to put in a kid's show. I can't imagine being like a 6 or 7-year-old kid feeling like I wasn't wanted and then seeing an episode like this. Since Timmy willingly agreed that he would leave this world if he couldn't prove that anybody was worse off without him, he ends up basically being banished by Jorgen. Luckily, he saves some laughing gas and is able to use it as a sort of jetpack, using it to make Jorgen laugh so he could steal his wand. And while he's about to wish himself back into reality, he comes across a dark sort of implication of doing so. He would be making everybody's life way worse if he were to come back. His parents wouldn't be rich. Crocker wouldn't be a professor, Francis would still be a bully, and Vicky would be an abusive babysitter. And so he actually decides to not go through with the wish. So he ends up just giving the wand back to Jorgen. And whilst Timmy is just looking sad and depressed, Jorgen actually tells him that this whole thing was a test. And also the fact that the laughing gas didn't work on him, he just pretended like it did. The only thing that makes him laugh is pain. So Jorgen then reverts everything back to the way it was. Now, it's questionable if this world is like actually a real world, or if this is like the actual world that would exist if Timmy wasn't alive. Was this a world just created for the sake of a test, or is this actually what would happen if Timmy didn't exist? Either way, it's kind of weird to see Timmy's reaction to realizing everybody would be a lot better off if he didn't exist. That is kind of messed up for a kid's show, and I know I've said that a lot, but it's kind of true. And with everything being reversed, Timmy basically just is happy that he's back, but Cosmo and Wanda don't remember that he ever left. Which means that Timmy is probably the only other person besides Jorgen who actually remembers the events of this episode. Which is pretty effed up if you really think about it. Again, this entire episode is literally just telling you that the world would be better off without this 10-year-old boy. I don't know how much darker you can really get. I know you can say, oh, well, that episode creeped me out as a kid of this show, or oh, that kind of scared me, but this is actually really messed up if you really just think about it for even a couple seconds. Now, I've seen people say this episode is banned, and it just isn't straight up. I even went to like this Reddit thread of somebody asking why the episode was banned, and one of the main replies is it's not. Literally came on Nickelodeon last night. And to be fair, it is an episode you can find on like most streaming services that like have the Fairly Odd Parents. From what I understand, I don't know where you can't find this episode. It doesn't seem like Nickelodeon has really tried to hide this episode. And to be fair, it's not something that I would imagine parents would get too upset about, unfortunately. And I think I remember this episode coming on Nickelodeon recently anyway. And by recently, I mean like 2017-ish, 2016. So I just straight up don't think this episode is banned. And I don't think it should be, but I don't think this episode should have gotten made to begin with. I've also seen people say Butch Hartman apologized, and I've never seen that. I don't know what people are talking about. But either way, if you like the video, just remember to like, subscribe, comment, say whatever you want to say. Peace.